Set in a futuristic Los Angeles of glowing lights and decadent technology, Blade Runner tells the story of a former LAPD officer played by Harrison Ford in the role of Rick Deckard, now working as a freelance replicant hunter. Sean Young is the beautiful Rachel, the niece of Eldon Tyrell, founder of the mega corporation manufacturing replicants, played by Joe Turkel, and Edward James Olmos as Officer Gaff. Four Nexus 6 replicant models managed to escape the awful colonies, breaking away from their enslavement and now landed on Earth, seeking shelter in the underbelly of Los Angeles. Roy Batty is the leader of the group and played by actor Rutger Hauer, who sadly passed away in 2019. Daryl Hannah is the seductive replicant Pris, while Johanna Cassidy is the mysterious Zora, and Brian James plays the brutal replicant Leon. Originally, the story was created by science fiction writer Philip K. Dick in 1968, with the title Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? The events depict a gloomy future where the ecosystem has collapsed and the extinction of animals has taken place. In the novel, animal ownership is a luxury, and the Tyrell Corporation has managed to replicate life with artificial creatures to sell on the market. The all is of course artificial, and so are people like androids that are tired of living as slaves. However, replicants are so well made it has become difficult to distinguish them from humans, prompting Rachel to ask Deckard the question if he ever retired a human.
Have you ever retired a human by mistake?
No.
But in your position, that is a risk.
Freelancers like Deckard are called to do the dirty work, risking their life to hunt down and kill escaped replicants, as they're not allowed to freely roam on Earth. To distinguish artificial life from biological one, the Wood-Kampf test is administered to check for a specific set of human reactions after asking specific questions. The challenge to distinguish humans from replicants pushes Eldon Tyrell to ask Deckard to use the test on Rachel in order to provide a negative result. However, Deckard's experience is put to the test, finding out her true identity. More human than human is what Tyrell explains to Deckard in order to show how far his company has come refining artificial life. Only Deckard's trained eye and experience will have known the difference, while for every series it's gotten difficult to separate the two. Legendary designer Sid Mead helped creating the visual production of Blade Runner, crafting a whole universe of sets, prop design, and marvelous aesthetics. His vision of Los Angeles 2019 created the standard for the decades to come for the Cyberpunk genre, as well as other futuristic settings. The infinite skyscrapers rising above, the police spinners, the neon colors, the original props enveloped in a smoky atmosphere where the natural light is a distant memory and the sun can only be seen in only one scene when Deckard reaches the top floors of the Tyrell Corporation building. The symbolism of wealth and power having access to the few natural resources remaining is only for selected groups, while the rest of the people live in the lower levels of Los Angeles and must endure their existence through the use of artificial light, while living in a never-ending state of night. This is the polarization of the existence between human living above other species, and more precisely as the shoulders of the replicants who have to live at the bottom of the ladder. One of the most important scenes that often gets left behind in Blade Runner is Rachel saving Deckard by killing Leon, shooting him in the head with a blaster. Rachel has come to terms accepting the fact she's a replicant by retiring one of her own, showing how she is capable of understanding the difference between them and humans, and that replicants are capable of emotions such as love and compassion just like their counterparts. The replicants are complex creations with brutal force, yet can only live 4 years for practical reasons and technological limitations. Despite being better than humans, replicants cannot reproduce, and this limitation is often debated on whether it was intentionally left behind from Tyrell in order to prevent them from entirely replacing humans, or if it was a goal he never reached. Because of these constraints, replicants cannot come to terms with the expiry date given by Tyrell, knowing and understanding they are superior beings compared to humans.
The light that burns twice as bright burns half as long. And you have burned so very, very brightly, Roy.
The topic of life, memories, philosophy, emotions create a strong theme within the movie's settings, where we are to believe replicants are cold creatures while actually displaying more compassion and complexity than their creators.
Did you get your precious photos?
Perhaps the idea of a replicant is how humans should have behaved or evolved, giving Terrell a sense of dominance over the process of creation, like a god. Even Sebastian has the ability to create replicants within his limitations, calling them toys that keep him company in his apartment. We witness at the very end of the movie a display of superiority by the replicant, where Roy Batty piques his brief yet powerful existence by saving Deckard from falling off a rooftop despite trying to hunt each other, explaining him in the epic ending dialogue that he has seen and experienced and how it's affected his life and perception of what surrounds everything.
Quite an experience to live in fear, isn't it? That's what it is to be a slave.
Roy has seen in a short lifespan what a single human would have experienced in a lifetime, condensing a series of emotions and shocks that affected their existence in the form of a trauma. It is perhaps this humanity that Terrell intended for Replicant to be their enlightenment. Replicants are genetically engineered, bio-enhanced individuals with higher physical capabilities, developed entirely of organic substance, created for slave labor by the Tyrell Corporation to be sent across space performing daunting tasks. Alden Terrell knows they are virtually perfect with all the positive perks that also carry the side effects and emotional limitation of humans. More human than human is the company's motto, meaning replicants might carry the burden of an enhanced mental condition, more like knowledge has a curse, where the ability to question their very own existentialism might have developed psychological problems in the form of depression, traumas, and sociopathy. Blade Runner opened in the summer of 1982, being produced with a budget of $30 million, grossing at the box office with over 41 million, which might be a lot of money for the time, but producers consider it as a flop. The slow pace, the philosophical questioning, the very few action scenes, all contributed to carve a niche status for this movie, thus not appealing for the large audience. However, during the following years and up until today, VHS, Laserdisc, DVD, streaming distribution would provide the huge success and the cult classic status for Blade Runner. In 1995, writer K.W. Jetta wrote Blade Runner 2, a book following up the events of the original novel and movie but with scarce results due to a poorly written story that didn't strike the audience. We'll have to wait until 2017 for a proper sequel to Ridley Scott's masterpiece with Blade Runner 2049, directed by Denis Villeneuve, picking up the events 30 years later in a visually stunning movie as a worthy sequel with a compelling story. The clustering of the elements during the scenes within the picture frame are showing a decadent Los Angeles of the future, filled with colorful neon lights, busy streets, crowded sidewalks, and the lure of technology holding everything together. Blade Runner opens a whole new genre of science fiction direction called Cyberpunk, inspiring the authors of the next decades in producing award-winning books, TV series, graphic novels, manga, movies, video games, and toys. YouTube channel Indigo Gaming has a wonderful 2-part long video on Cyberpunk and its evolution. Link is in the description. The stunning visual developed by Sid Mead and the direction Ridley Scott managed to bridge the hardball detective theme into a whole new dimension. The techno-noir is the futuristic background of crime stories, intrigue, espionage, murder, and betrayal. The use of technology has the setting in megacities filled with neon lights amplify the human condition and their constant dependency from hardware and software, introducing new types of plot, but overall the structure remains the same. The movie manages to develop a series of layers within its existence, starting from the background story all the way to the fine details, reaching all the way to what the audience perceives. There is a megalopolis entrenched into a realm of dysfunctionality created by the abundance and saturation of technology, depicting cold scenarios of how society has been living for decades, being shadowed by environmental calamities and man-made disasters. Los Angeles 2019 was depicted as the void after the cliff jump, where society can no longer go back. The damage has been done, and every day is as far as people can make plans. Throughout the years, different releases of the movie have been distributed, often with Ridley Scott being the most praised on removing Harrison Ford's voiceover as the narrator. Ridley Scott wanted a version of Blade Runner as he intended, but originally due to production limitation and afraid audiences will have found it difficult to understand the scenes, the theatrical and first home release kept the narration elements as well as with other video elements. Blade Runner has reached the Olympus of filmmaking by depicting a story of existentialism that has been affecting humans for ages. Memories can be implanted from someone else to make artificial life more human than human, showing more compassion and empathy than mankind itself. However, the eternal struggle of people, weaknesses, emotions, fragility, cruelty, and uniqueness are set across the background of a present where technology has replaced nature and thus humanity, portraying Replicant as the next stage of evolution, having shown better qualities and an understanding of the complexity of life with its intrinsic details. Who am I? Where do I come from? Where am I going? Are the burden humans passed on to Replicants in an attempt to answer these questions all their lives? That maybe by acting as gods we would have the definitive solution to what has been haunting people since the dawn of times.
Why are you staring at us, Sebastian?
Because you're so different. You're so perfect.